My name is Mark Brennan, and I work the oil rigs in the Gulf. 3 weeks on, 2 weeks off. It's brutal work, but it built everything we had. The house, the cars, the life Sarah and I made together over 8 years of marriage. The money's good enough that Sarah never had to work if she didn't want to. Good enough for us to live in a neighborhood where the houses have 2-car garages and manicured lawns. Good enough for me to build her things with my hands, jewelry boxes, garden planters, bookshelves, in the garage workshop I'd put together with craftsman tools and a workbench I'd assembled myself. But something had changed. It started subtle. Sarah used to light up when I came home from rotation. She'd have dinner planned, stories to tell, plans for our 2 weeks together. Lately, she'd been distant, distracted. Her phone was always face down now. She'd developed new habits, yoga classes that ran late, book clubs that met at bars, friends I'd never heard of before. When I asked about it, she'd smile that practice smile and say everything was fine. Just making new friends, honey. You're gone so much I need a social life. Made sense, I supposed, but my gut told me otherwise. The first real warning came from her sister, Linda. We were at a family barbecue, and Linda pulled me aside while Sarah was inside getting drinks. "Mark," she said, looking uncomfortable. "I don't want to cause trouble, but Sarah's been going out a lot, different places, with different people." "Different people?" "Younger people, and she's different when she talks about her nights out. Secretive, that's not like her." Linda was right. Sarah had always been an open book. She'd tell me about every interaction with every cashier, every conversation with every neighbor. This new Sarah kept her cards close. I didn't want to be that husband, the suspicious one, the one who checks phones and follows cars. But 3 weeks offshore gives you a lot of time to think, and by the time my rotation ended, I'd made a decision. I hired a private investigator. Chapter 2. The Truth. Ray Morrison looked exactly like what Central Casting would order for a PI, rumpled suit, 3 days of stubble, coffee breath. His office smelled like cigarettes and defeat, but he was thorough, and he was discreet. "Standard adultery investigation," I told him. "My wife. I need to know." "How sure are you?" Ray asked, sliding a contract across his desk. "Sure enough to be here." "Fair enough. 2 weeks should tell us everything we need to know." It took him 10 days. The report was typed on letterhead, clinical and devastating. 4 separate meetings with a 27-year-old bartender named Kyle Hoffman, drinks at 3 different bars, a trip to his apartment that lasted 4 hours, time stamps, locations, photographs from a distance. The photos showed Sarah laughing in ways I hadn't seen in months. Her body language was different, leaning in, touching his arm, playing with her wedding ring while she talked. But it was the final photo that broke something inside me. Sarah and Kyle in the parking lot of Henley's bar, her arms around his neck, his hands on her waist, kissing like teenagers. I stared at that photo for an hour. Then I made my plan. Chapter 3. The Setup. I've always been methodical. It's what makes me good at my job. When you're working with heavy machinery 3 miles underwater, you don't leave anything to chance. You plan, you double-check, you plan again. This required the same approach. I drove to Best Buy and bought a wireless security camera system. High definition, motion-activated, audio recording. The kind suburban families use to catch package thieves. Installation was simple. I mounted one camera in the corner of the garage, angled to cover the workbench area and the side door. The garage was Sarah's favorite place to take her private calls lately. I'd noticed her heading out there whenever her phone rang. The camera fed to an app on my phone, motion alerts, live streaming, cloud storage, everything I needed. Then I waited. 3 days into my next rotation, the motion alert came through. 11:47 p.m. I was in my bunk on the Titan Explorer, 300 miles from shore, watching my wife's betrayal unfold in high definition. Kyle's red Honda Civic pulled into my driveway. Sarah met him at the side door of the garage, the one that led directly from our kitchen. She was wearing the blue dress I'd bought her for our anniversary last year. They talked for a few minutes, and the audio was crystal clear. "Mark won't be back until Thursday," she said, running her fingers down his chest. We have the whole night. Good, he said. I was getting tired of sneaking around. She laughed. Poor baby. It's been so hard for you. Not as hard as it's been for you, married to that caveman. Sarah looked around the garage, at my tools, at the half-finished jewelry box on the workbench. He tries, I guess. But God, Kyle, he's just so limited. All he knows is work and fixing things and watching sports. When's the last time we had a real conversation about anything that mattered? When's the last time he made you feel alive? I can't remember. They moved to the workbench then, and I watched my wife of 8 years destroy our marriage against the surface, where I'd built her Christmas presents and birthday surprises for nearly a decade. I saved the footage to 3 different cloud accounts and bought a plane ticket home. Chapter 4. The Emergency. Sarah? Hey, it's me. Mark? What's wrong? You sound upset. We've got an emergency up here. Major equipment failure. Their choppers me back to shore tonight. I'll be home around 10. Tonight? But you're not supposed to be back until… I know, honey. But they need me back here to testify about the incident. Workers' comp thing. I'll probably only be home for 2 days, then back out for another 3 weeks. Oh, a pause. That's terrible timing, Mark. I have book club tonight. Book club can wait, can it? I haven't seen my wife in 3 weeks. Of course, you're right. I'll cancel. See you at 10. I hung up and checked the camera feed. Sarah was pacing around the kitchen, her phone to her ear. 30 seconds later, Kyle's Honda was backing out of the driveway. I was already in Houston, had been for 6 hours. The flight to Lake Charles took 50 minutes. I rented a car and drove home, parking 2 blocks away at 9:30 p.m. At 10:15, I walked up my driveway and let myself in through the front door. Sarah, I'm home. She appeared from the kitchen, smiling, wearing different clothes than she'd had on an hour earlier. Mark, you made good time. How was the flight? Long day. How was book club? Oh, we postponed. Figured you'd want some time together. That's thoughtful of you. I kissed her cheek and went upstairs to shower. When I came down, she was in the living room reading, the same book she'd been carrying around for 2 months. I'm beat, I said. Think I'll turn in early. Long day tomorrow. Of course, I'll be up in a bit. At 11:30, my phone buzzed with a motion alert. Chapter 5. The Catch. Kyle's Honda pulled into the driveway at 11:47 p.m., exactly 24 hours after I'd watched it happen the first time. Sarah had texted him that the coast was clear, that I was sound asleep, that they could pick up where they'd left off. I'd been waiting in the kitchen for 17 minutes, sitting in the dark at our breakfast table, watching the camera feed on my phone. She opened the side door to the garage, and Kyle slipped inside. They embraced immediately, and I could hear every word through the app. Jesus, I missed you, Kyle said. I was going crazy all day thinking about last night. I know, baby. Mark's not waking up anytime soon. We're fine. Good, because I've been thinking about you bent over that workbench all day. Sarah laughed. God, you're terrible. That's my husband's workbench. Makes it better. You're right. It does. I stood up and walked to the garage door. The side door from the kitchen to the garage has a deadbolt that locks from both sides. I turned it quietly, sealing them in. Then I walked through the house to the main garage door, the one that opens to the driveway. I hit the button and the door rumbled up. Kyle and Sarah sprang apart like they'd been electrocuted. She was half-dressed. He had his shirt off. My workbench, the one where I'd built her jewelry box last month, where I'd crafted her garden planter for Mother's Day, where I'd spent countless evenings creating things for the woman I loved, was scattered with their clothes. Mark! Sarah screamed. How did you… I looked at Kyle. 27 years old, lean build, the kind of guy who probably did CrossFit and posted shirtless selfies on Instagram. The kind of guy who could sweet-talk a married woman into betraying 8 years of marriage. Get dressed, I said quietly. Look, man, Kyle started, holding up his hands. This isn't what… I hit him once, a straight right to the solar plexus. He dropped like a bag of cement, gasping and wheezing on my garage floor. Sarah was screaming, but it sounded far away. I dragged Kyle by the ankles to his car, his back scraping across the concrete. He was conscious, but couldn't breathe well enough to resist. I popped his trunk and found what I was looking for, a gas can. Most cars don't carry them, but Kyle's Honda was old enough to be unreliable. Smart boy. I doused his car with gasoline, the seats, the dashboard, the trunk. The fumes filled the garage. "Mark, stop!" Sarah was crying, pulling at my arm. "Stop! You're going to hurt him!" I lit a match and dropped it through the driver's side window. The Honda went up like a Viking funeral. Kyle scrambled to his feet, still wheezing. "You're insane, man! That's my car!" "Was your car," I said. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to walk out of my driveway and never come back. You're going to forget my wife's name, forget her phone number, forget this address. If I see you within 5 miles of my house, if you contact her in any way, if you so much as drive down this street again, I will finish what I started tonight. Are we clear?" Kyle looked at the burning car, then at me. Whatever he saw in my face convinced him. "We're clear." "Good. Start walking." He grabbed his shirt and shoes and ran barefoot down my driveway and into the night. I never saw him again. Sarah was still screaming, but now she was screaming at me. "Mark, what have you done? What have you done? He could go to the police. You could go to prison. This is insane." I walked past her into the house. In our bedroom, I opened her jewelry box, the one I'd made her 2 years ago, and removed our wedding rings, both of them. She'd left hers on the nightstand before going to meet Kyle. I threw the rings into the burning car. "Mark, please, can we talk about this? Can we please just talk?" I went to our closet and pulled out her wedding dress. The one she'd worn 8 years ago when she promised to love, honor, and cherish me. The one she'd kept in a preservation box because she said our daughter might want to wear it someday. We never had a daughter. I threw the dress into the flames. Photo albums, wedding gifts, love letters I'd written during my first deployment, the anniversary watch she'd given me 3 years ago, every physical reminder of what we'd built together. All of it went into Kyle's Honda. 10 minutes, I said. "What?" "You have 10 minutes to pack whatever you need and get out of my house." "Mark, you can't. This is my home too. You can't just kick me out." "Watch me." She ran upstairs, still crying. I could hear her throwing things into suitcases, making frantic phone calls, probably to Linda, maybe to her parents. I didn't care. When she came downstairs with 2 suitcases and a desperate expression, I was sitting at the kitchen table again, watching Kyle's car burn down to its frame. Where am I supposed to go? Anywhere that isn't here. "Mark, please. I know I made a mistake, but we can work through this. We can go to counseling. We can—" "No. Please. I love you. I've always loved you. Kyle was just— he was a mistake. A stupid, terrible mistake." I looked at her then, really looked at her. The woman I'd married, the woman I'd worked 60-hour weeks to provide for, the woman I'd built a life around. She looked smaller somehow, diminished. "The woman I married died in that garage tonight," I said. "I don't know who you are." She left crying, promising to call, promising to explain everything, promising to make it right. I changed the locks before sunrise. The fire department came around 3 a.m. By then, Kyle's Honda was just a blackened skeleton in my driveway. I told them it was an electrical fire, that I'd been working late in the garage and must have had a short in my power tools. The investigator didn't buy it, but he couldn't prove otherwise. Cars burn all the time. Accidents happen. Sarah called the next day, and the day after that. I didn't answer. She came to the house on Thursday. The locks were changed, and when she tried her key, she found that I'd filled the keyhole with super glue. She pounded on the door for an hour, screaming, crying, begging. The neighbors watched from their windows, but nobody called the police. Sarah Brennan having a breakdown in her own driveway wasn't exactly their problem. Linda called me that afternoon. "Mark, I know what happened. Sarah told me everything." Good for her. Look, I'm not defending what she did, but don't you think you're being a little extreme? Do you? A long pause. Number, I guess I don't. If Jim did that to me, I'd probably burn down more than just a car. Linda, I need you to know something. Sarah is not welcome here anymore. This house, this life, this marriage, it's over. I don't want her to have any reason to think otherwise. I understand. Do you? Because she's going to call you and she's going to cry and she's going to ask you to talk to me, don't. Mark! I mean it, Linda. I've got nothing left to say to her, ever. Linda was quiet for a long time. She really screwed up, didn't she? Yes, she did. I grew up watching my father cheat on my mother. Not once, but repeatedly, over the span of 10 years. Different women, different lies, the same devastation every time my mother found out. She'd cry, he'd apologize, they'd go to counseling, and 6 months later, we'd be back where we started. My mother became a ghost in her own house, jumping every time the phone rang, checking his pockets, living in a constant state of anxiety and suspicion. I was 12 when I decided I would never be my father, and I would never be my mother. I would never cheat, and I would never tolerate being cheated on. It wasn't anger that drove my decision, it was mathematics, simple calculation. Trust, once broken, cannot be repaired. It can be managed, medicated, worked around, but never truly fixed. The doubt never goes away. The questions never stop. The marriage becomes a performance, not a partnership. I loved Sarah completely. Quietly, but completely. I worked 60-hour weeks so she could have everything she wanted. I built her things with my hands because store-bought wasn't personal enough. I called her every night from the rig because 3 weeks was too long to go without hearing her voice. But love without trust is just elaborate self-torture. When trust dies, the person dies. The Sarah I married, the one who used to trace my scars and tell me she missed me every day I was gone, she died the moment she let Kyle touch her in my garage. What was left was just someone who looked like my wife. Ray Morrison delivered his final report 3 days after the fire. I'd asked him to keep digging, to give me everything. He'd given me everything. Receipts from restaurants, hotel records, text messages recovered from Kyle's phone company, witness statements from bartenders, a timeline that went back 3 months, not 3 weeks. The worst part wasn't the betrayal, it was the mockery. Text message from Sarah to Kyle 2 weeks before I caught them. Mark brought me another jewelry box he made, so sweet and so clueless. Sometimes I feel bad, but then I remember how boring he is. Kyle's response, "Don't feel bad. Boring husbands make the best husbands for cheating wives. They never suspect anything." Sarah, true. He's so predictable. Work, sleep, build something, repeat. God, Kyle, I need more than that. Kyle, you've got more. You've got me. Sarah, I know. I just wish I could have both, his security and your excitement. Kyle, why can't you? Sarah, because eventually I'll have to choose. Kyle, what are you going to choose? Sarah, I don't know yet. There were 47 messages in that thread. Each one was a knife in my back. But the worst part, the part that sealed everything, was the audio from the garage camera. Not just the night I caught them, but the night before, when I was supposedly still on the rig. Sarah's voice clear as day. I love Mark, but I'm not in love with him anymore. Does that make sense? He's like comfortable furniture. You don't throw out comfortable furniture, but you don't get excited about it either. Kyle, so what am I? Sarah, you're the fire. You're everything he's not. Spontaneous, exciting, dangerous. Kyle, dangerous? Sarah, God, yes. Mark would never burn down someone's car. Mark would never fight for me. Mark would just fix things and move on. She was wrong about that. I wrote the letter on a Tuesday morning, sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee and a legal pad. I'd been thinking about what to say for a week, and I wanted to get it right. This would be the last communication between us. Ever. Sarah, I'm not writing this letter because I want a response. I'm writing it because I have things to say, and after this, I'll have nothing left to say to you. I want to thank you for 8 years of marriage. The good parts were very good. The woman I married was kind, funny, and loving. She made me want to be a better man. She made our house a home. She made me believe in forever. That woman is gone now, and I don't know when she left. Maybe it was gradual. Maybe it happened all at once. It doesn't matter anymore. I know you think what happened in the garage was an overreaction. You think I was crazy, or violent, or extreme. But here's what you don't understand. I didn't react to one night of betrayal. I reacted to 3 months of deception. I reacted to 47 text messages mocking our marriage. I reacted to hearing you tell another man that I was boring furniture. You said Mark would never fight for you. You were wrong. I fought for us every day for 8 years. I worked dangerous jobs to give you security. I came home exhausted and still built you things because I wanted to make you happy. I called you every night from the middle of the ocean because you mattered more to me than sleep. But you're right about one thing. Mark would never fight Kyle for you. Because the moment you chose Kyle over me, there was nothing left to fight for. I don't hate you, Sarah. Hate requires emotional investment, and I have no emotions left to invest in this. I nothing you. You have become a stranger who looks like someone I used to know. The divorce papers are being filed next week. You'll get your legal share of everything. The house is being sold. Your car is paid off. You won't be able to claim financial hardship because there won't be any. Don't contact me. Don't come to the house. Don't ask Linda or your parents to intercede. This is done. The woman I married died in that garage. I'm letting you go. Mark. I sealed the letter in an envelope and left it with her sister. Linda promised to deliver it, and she promised not to read it. Are you sure about this, Mark? Linda asked. Are you sure you don't want to try counseling or... I'm sure. She's devastated. She hasn't stopped crying since that night. She should be devastated. She destroyed an 8-year marriage for a 27-year-old bartender. If she's not devastated, she's a sociopath. Linda nodded slowly. You're not wrong. No, I'm not. Sarah's parents called me the next day. Harold and Margaret Chen, who'd treated me like the son they never had for 8 years, who'd welcomed me into their family, who'd helped us buy our first house, who'd talked about grandchildren and retirement trips and growing old together. Mark, Harold's voice was shaky. Margaret and I, we just wanted you to know that we don't condone what Sarah did. We're ashamed of her behavior. I appreciate that, Harold. Is there any way, any possibility that you two could work this out? Maybe with time, maybe with counseling? No. Mark, she's our daughter. We love her. But what she did to you was unforgivable. We understand why you can't forgive her. It's not about forgiveness, Harold. It's arithmetic. Trust is binary, 1 or 0. Sarah pulled the plug and you don't bring back what's already in the ground. Margaret got on the phone then, crying. Mark, honey, is there anything we can do? Anything at all? Yes, I said. There is one thing. What? Don't hate me for this. I know she's your daughter, and I know you love her. But I need you to understand that I can't have you in my life anymore. Seeing you, talking to you, getting Christmas cards and birthday calls, it would be like keeping the wound open. I need to heal, and I can't heal if I'm constantly reminded of what I lost. Margaret was quiet for a long time. Then, we understand. You've been wonderful to me for 8 years. You treated me like family, and I'll never forget that. But this has to be goodbye. We understand, Harold repeated. We're proud of you, Mark. For what it's worth, we think you're handling this with more grace than most men would. Thank you. Take care of yourself. You too. That was the last conversation I had with Sarah's family. The call came from Jensen Offshore on a Friday morning. 6-month rotation in Norway. North Sea oil platform. Twice my normal salary, and they needed an answer by Monday. It's rough up there, the recruiter warned. Weather's brutal, work's harder than the Gulf, and you're basically cut off from civilization for half the year. Most guys can't handle it. I can handle it. You sure? I've got guys with 20 years experience wash out after 2 months. The isolation gets to them. I'm sure. I'd already put the house on the market. The realtor said it would sell within a month. Good neighborhood, good schools, good bones. Sarah would get her legal share, minus the cost of repairs to the garage where I'd burned Kyle's car. I paid off her car loan. Didn't want her to have any reason to contact me about finances. Didn't want her to be able to claim I'd left her destitute. Clean break, clean conscience. My lawyer handled the divorce filing. No fault, Irreconcilable differences. Sarah would get half the house proceeds, half the savings, and half my retirement account. She'd also get alimony for 2 years, enough time to get back on her feet and find work. I wasn't being cruel. I was being fair. The marriage was over, but I wasn't trying to destroy her life. I was just removing myself from it. The night before I left for Norway, Sarah came to the house. I'd been packing in the living room when I saw headlights in the driveway. I looked out the window and saw her Toyota Camry, the one I'd just finished paying off. She sat in the car for 10 minutes before getting out. When she finally walked to the front door, I could see she'd been crying. She knocked. Not pounded, just knocked. "Mark? I know you're in there. I can see the lights. Please, can we talk? Just for 5 minutes?" I sat on the couch and waited. "I know you're angry. I know I hurt you. But Mark, we had 8 years together. 8 years. Doesn't that count for something? Doesn't that deserve more than silence?" I turned off the lights and went upstairs. "Mark, please, I made a mistake, a terrible, awful mistake, but it was just a mistake. I never stopped loving you. I never wanted to hurt you." From the upstairs window, I watched her sink to her knees on my front porch. "I know you can hear me. I know you're listening. Please, just tell me what I can do. Tell me how to fix this. I'll do anything. I'll go to counseling. I'll quit drinking. I'll get a job. I'll do anything you want." She stayed for an hour, talking to my front door, begging for a response that never came. When she finally left, I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not sadness, not anger. Nothing. The woman I'd married had already gone. The woman crying on my porch was just a stranger who'd stolen her face. The morning flight to Houston connected to London, then to Bergen, then to Stavanger. 36 hours of travel time, but I wasn't in a hurry. I had nowhere else to be. The Njord platform sat 60 miles offshore in the North Sea, a steel city rising from gray water under gray skies, home for the next 6 months. My bunk was 8 feet by 6 feet, smaller than the garage where Sarah had destroyed our marriage. The mess hall served reindeer and fish and bread that tasted like cardboard. The crew spoke Norwegian and Arabic and broken English, and most of them had stories like mine. Wives who left, families who fell apart, lives that had collapsed under the weight of betrayal or abandonment or simple bad luck. We didn't talk about it much. We pushed through 16-hour shifts, crashed like corpses, and watched the numbers climb in our accounts. I saved every penny. Didn't have anything to spend it on anyway. No house payments, no wife, no marriage to maintain. Just me and the work and the endless gray horizon. At night, when the wind howled across the platform and the North Sea crashed against the support columns, I would think about Sarah. Not with anger or sadness or regret, but with the detached curiosity you might feel about a stranger's story. She'd made her choice. In Kyle's arms, against my workbench, she'd chosen excitement over security, passion over partnership, the fire over the furniture. Now she had neither fire nor furniture. Kyle had vanished the night I burned his car. Guys like him don't stick around when things get complicated. And I was gone too, 2,000 miles away, earning Norwegian money and learning a Norwegian phrase book. Jeg forstår ikke. I don't understand. Det spiller ingen rolle. It doesn't matter. Alt færdig. Everything is finished. The language lessons were going well. 6 months in the North Sea teaches you things about yourself. It strips away the comfortable lies you tell yourself about who you are and what you're capable of. When you're surrounded by nothing but water and wind and the constant possibility of death, pretense becomes a luxury you can't afford. I learned that I was stronger than I'd thought. Not physically, though the work had made me harder, leaner, more capable, but emotionally. I learned that I could live with nothing. No wife, no house, no roots, no attachments. Just work and money and the horizon. I learned that love, real love, doesn't die when it's betrayed. It calcifies. It becomes something else entirely. Not hate, not indifference, but a kind of permanent disappointment. The way you might feel about a friend who borrowed money and never paid it back, or a brother who missed your wedding for a golf tournament. They don't become your enemy. They just stopped being important. Sarah had stopped being important. The platform had internet access twice a week during supply runs. Most of the crew used it to video chat with families, send emails, browse social media. I used it to check my bank account and read the news. I never searched for Sarah's name, never checked her social media, never asked Linda or anyone else how she was doing. I genuinely didn't care. That was the most surprising thing, how easy it was to not care. I'd expected anger or grief or some complicated mix of emotions. Instead, there was just nothing. Sarah Brennan had become as relevant to my life as any other stranger. 3 months into the rotation, I met Astrid. She worked for the supply company, managed logistics between the platform and shore. Norwegian, blonde, 34 years old, divorced with a 7-year-old daughter, practical, competent, no interest in games or drama. We started talking during supply runs, professional at first, then personal. She'd been married to an alcoholic who'd spent their savings and stolen from her family. Left him when their daughter was 4. "I don't trust easy," she told me over coffee in the platform's mess hall. "Once someone shows you who they are, you believe them." Good policy. You have similar experience? You could say that. We didn't talk about it in detail. Didn't need to. Wounded recognizes wounded. By month 5, we were spending every supply day together. By month 6, we were making plans for my next rotation. "You could work from Stavanger," she said. "Shorter rotations, better quality of life." "What about your daughter? Ingrid likes you. She calls you the American who fixes things." "I do fix things." "Yes, but some things cannot be fixed, only replaced." Smart woman. My contract ended on a Tuesday in March. The flight back to the States felt like traveling backward through time. From the stark, honest brutality of the North Sea to the comfortable lies of suburban America. I had 3 weeks before starting my next rotation, this time based out of Stavanger. 3 weeks to handle the divorce finalization, sell the last of my possessions, and close the American chapter of my life permanently. The lawyer met me at the airport with papers to sign. The divorce was final, had been final for 2 months. Sarah had gotten her share of everything, plus alimony payments that would continue for another 18 months. She hadn't contested anything, hadn't asked for more, hadn't tried to drag it out. "She wanted me to tell you something," the lawyer said as I signed the final documents. "Don't. Mr. Brennan, I don't want to hear it. Whatever she wants me to know, I don't want to know it." The lawyer nodded and put the papers away. "Will you be maintaining your American address?" "Forward everything to my Norwegian address." "Very good. Congratulations on your freedom, Mr. Brennan." Freedom. That was one word for it. Tom Vasquez had been my friend since high school. Best man at my wedding, godfather to the children I never had, the kind of friend who'd help you bury a body without asking questions. He was getting married for the 2nd time, to a woman named Jennifer who owned a flower shop and laughed at his terrible jokes. I'd promised to be there, and I kept my promises. The wedding was at a country club 20 minutes from my old house. I booked a hotel room rather than ask anyone for a couch. Didn't want to explain the divorce, didn't want the sympathy, didn't want the questions about how I was holding up. The ceremony was nice. Tom looked happy in a way he never had with his first wife. Jennifer looked at him like he'd hung the moon. The kind of love that makes you believe in forever, right up until forever ends. The reception was the usual mix of dancing, drinking, and awkward small talk with people I hadn't seen in months. I stayed long enough to be polite, then headed for the exit around 9 o'clock. That's when I saw her. Sarah was working the wedding, not as a guest, as staff. She was setting up the dessert table, arranging flowers, directing the catering crew. She looked thinner than I remembered, more tired. Her hair was shorter, her clothes more practical. Our eyes met across the reception hall. For a moment, she froze. Her mouth opened like she might say something, like she might try to cross the room and approach me. I looked through her and kept walking. Not past her, through her. Like she was a window, or a doorway, or empty air. Like she wasn't there at all. I heard her breath catch, saw her shoulders slump in my peripheral vision, but I didn't stop, didn't slow down, didn't acknowledge her existence in any way. Because she didn't exist, Not to me, not anymore.